Hello and welcome to SEO is Not That Hard. I'm your host, Ed Dawson, the founder of keywordspeopleuse.com, the place to find and organise the questions people ask online. I'm an SEO, developer, affiliate marketer and entrepreneur. I've been building and monetising websites for over 20 years and I've bought and sold a few along the way. I'm here to share with you the SEO knowledge, hints and tips I've built up over the years. Hello and welcome back to SEO is Not That Hard. It's Ed Dawson here, your host as usual. And today I'm going to be talking about why Cloudflare is so much more than just a CDN, a content delivery network. Now, this topic comes to me on the back of a conference that I went to at the end of August, last week of August. It was Hive MCR, which was a one-day conference in Manchester, organised by Whitworth SEO. And it was a really nice little conference. It was only sort of a bit more than half a day long. It started at 2 p.m. in Manchester and it went through till 8 p.m. when there was a networking party and whatnot. I didn't actually stay for the networking party because that day I was a little bit under the weather. And although I booked a hotel in Manchester, I just thought, I've not got my drinking head on. I've got a bit of a cold. I'm going to go home, and I don't live that far from Manchester. It only takes me, about an hour and a half with the train and the car to get home from Manchester city centre. So I actually cut it short and came home. But the first talk was by a guy called John Alderson, and his talk was called "Going Over the Edge." And it was subtitled as "Unlock the Full Potential of Your Website with Cutting-Edge Technical SEO Techniques. Discover how Cloudflare and other CDNs can make your site faster, smarter, and better than your competitors." And what he was basically showing during his talk, it was a 25-minute talk, something like that, was basically how you can use the advanced features of Cloudflare to do more than just caching and accelerating your website. You can actually use it for things like altering the content on pages, intercepting requests, and putting a whole load of programmatic functionality in front of your website. And the key thing was, this was all without having to actually touch your original website. Now, I've always recommended people to use Cloudflare on their websites, although I've never actually been a customer before. Now, the reason I've not used it is because I actually use, up until now, a technology called CloudFront, which is very similar to Cloudflare, but it is part of the Amazon Web Services suite of hosting tools. Now, we've used Amazon Web Services since, I'm trying to remember now, probably 2010 time. All our infrastructure is on Amazon Web Services, and it just made sense for us to use CloudFront. But if you're not using Amazon Web Services for all the rest of your infrastructure, your hosting infrastructure, then CloudFront probably isn't the best solution to use or the most sort of intuitive solution to use, because if you're not used to the AWS sort of interface and managing all that, it can be a bit tricky just to try and use CloudFront for the purposes of a CDN. So I've always recommended Cloudflare to people who are, using, say, WordPress and that kind of thing, or other hosting services. And it's much more user intuitive, I think, and easy for people to set up and use. Now, I was really blown away with the examples that Jono shared in his talk and the kind of things you could do with Cloudflare. And it kind of inspired me to go and have a look at it. And in terms of why I was inspired to look at it, it's because you might have noticed I've been doing a few rank and rent episodes recently, and that's because I'm investigating the whole rank and rent model. And I've got some ideas of things that I could try out and I could do. I'm interested in how to scale it. Now, the issue I've got is I don't want necessarily to run, 100 individual, say, WordPress installs, or basically the same kind of site that's targeting the same service but in different cities, say, for example. So I always use the plumber example when I'm talking about it. Not that I'm going to use plumbers. It's not what I'm going to target when I do it. But so I might have a plumbers in Manchester website, a plumbers in Derby website, plumbers in a whole number of places. Now, these sites are going to be quite similar in many respects. But rather than having multiple copies of the site, I've been trying to find a scalable solution where I could have like a base install on WordPress, which had the basic templated outline of the site with placeholders in the text for where we would change the text based on the city it was in, so that they would all be individual. You might even change images depending on where they are, but you'd have one WordPress install that would kind of control it all. And so I've been looking around for a solution where I can manage to intercept the request coming in and say, right, this is a request coming in from, say, plumbersinmanchester.co.uk, and it would then make the request to the WordPress site and fill in all those sort of content areas around it being in Manchester. So that it would use that one template, but then just change the content based on it being in Manchester. Other requests might come in for, say, plumbers in Derby, and then we would go to the site and fill in and change the content based on it being in Derby. So as far as the user was concerned, as far as Google was concerned, they did two different websites. They look different, they put different content in, but they're all being fed from the same basic site underneath. So I've only got to manage one WordPress install, and then we manage the content programmatically through another service. And I thought, this is actually something Cloudflare could do based on the talk that Jono gave. So I've actually, played around with this the past few days, and what I've done is I created a basic WordPress install and hosted that on AWS with CloudFront in front of it like I normally would. But then I've sent requests to two different domains that come through Cloudflare. So those domains sit on Cloudflare and they receive the traffic. Now, when they receive the traffic, we use a thing called a Cloudflare worker, which has got a rule set up. So basically what happens, this little worker will listen for requests coming into these individual domains. And it will then say, right, this domain, I've got a request. And it then will rewrite the URLs to pick up their content from the origin, which is the WordPress installer set up on AWS with CloudFront in front of it. So they will go and get that page. And then we also set up another worker that when it gets the content from that page, will rewrite the domains. It will rewrite other bits of content within there. I've put in some test templated bits so I can say, right, if you see this content, place it with this content. And that content store, the key value pair, the where to, what to change and where, is held on a key value pair on Cloudflare itself. So I haven't got to write any, set up a database anywhere. I can just use a feature of Cloudflare called key values to hold that information. So as we added new sites, if we were going to add new sites, we could just put the details in that key value store on Cloudflare, and it would automatically then be able to intercept all those requests and make those changes for you. And, I used AI to help me with this a bit. I just used ChatGPT and explained what I wanted to do and said, can you build me the code for a worker? Because these workers on Cloudflare can be in JavaScript. I think they can be in Python and maybe something else as well. There's a few options. And I just, explained what I wanted to ChatGPT, and it helped me write the code for how to do that. And yeah, I was so incredibly impressed how quick and easy it was to set this up. And like I say, I'm only just scratching the surface at the moment because this is all just new to me. Now, I appreciate that might be quite a complex example of what you might be able to do using Cloudflare to automate things and to make your life easier and to scale things. There is loads and loads of other things you can do with Cloudflare that I'm going to be missing things here. But for example, it's really easy to do 301 redirects. So I've talked about 301 redirects before, and you can do it on a web server, you can do it in plenty of other places, but it's not necessarily always that easy to do it. I've just discovered, in Cloudflare, doing all those redirects, it's dead simple. There's a nice graphical user interface, a nice web interface. You can do all those things really, really easily. You don't need a developer to be a developer to do these kind of things. And the stuff you can do with images, to improve your image quality, or to get your resolutions right, or to make sure that the right resolutions are served for the device people are on. There's that's just scratching the surface of things you can do with this. They even have a WordPress plugin. So if you're using WordPress and you want to put Cloudflare in front of it, There's a plugin that will do a lot of the setup for you, and a lot of the intelligent stuff around optimizations it'll do for you. So that looks really cool as well. So I just wanted to do this episode really to say to demonstrate to you that Cloudflare is so much more than just a CDN. If you aren't using Cloudflare, then I can't really see a reason not to, unless you've got another CDN and all that's all set up for you, like you say, and then in which case fine. But if you haven't got a CDN set up, if you're not using something like Cloudflare, I really would suggest using it because it'll speed your site up, and that is so important. You know how much I've talked about that before in the past, but it will also give you so many other tools just by itself that could become really important to you as you are improving things and changing things and improving your SEO and just developing and building your site. I'm just so impressed with the things it can do that I didn't know just a couple of weeks ago. So I just wanted to share that and say, if you haven't explored it, go and explore it. I don't think you'll regret it. Anyway, until next time, I hope you find this useful, and until next time, I'll see you in the next episode. Before I go, I just wanted to let you know that if you'd like a personal demo of our tools at Keywords People Use, that you can book a free, no obligation, one-on-one video call with me, where I show you how we can help you level up your content by finding and answering the questions your audience actually have. You can also ask me any SEO questions you have. You just need to go to keywordspeopleuse.com/demo, where you can pick a time and date that suits you for us to catch up. Once again, that's keywordspeopleuse.com/demo, and you can also find that link in the show notes of today's episode. Hope to chat with you soon. Thanks for being a listener. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe and share. It really helps. SEO is not that hard. It's brought to you by keywordspeopleuse.com, the place to find and organise the questions people ask online. See why thousands of people use us every day. Try it today for free at keywordspeopleuse.com. To get an instant hit of more SEO tips, then find the link to download a free copy of my 101 quick SEO tips in the show notes of today's episode. If you want to get in touch, have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. I'm at Channel5 on Twitter. You can email me at podcast@keywordspeopleuse.com. Bye for now, and see you in the next episode of SEO is Not That Hard.